Well, first of all, thank you all for having me here today. I'm just going to start off talking a little bit more broadly about the BPS, although Kate's slightly stolen my thunder, but so bear with me if I repeat myself. The BPS is both a learned society and professional body for both psychology and psychologists in the UK. It sees one of its key roles as promoting excellence in psychology education, research and practice. So it spans all aspects of psychology and the ways in which you do your training, your practice, and actually undertake research and so on. My particular role within the BPS is working with one of our key strategy boards. That's the research board, which has been mentioned earlier. And the board very much sees it as one of its key roles to advocate for, to support and provide guidance for, and very much give a voice to early career psychologists. And so an awful lot of its initiatives and so on that it's doing at the moment are geared towards that, hence why we're having this event today. As Kate's mentioned, I've been at the BPS for a very long time. I often say that I've grown up at the BPS, having started not long after graduating with my first degree. And I also had the privilege of doing my PhD whilst working for the society, so it was very much something that benefited both the BPS and myself. And I've always been involved in supporting its key research priorities, so I was delighted to be appointed as Head of Research and Impact last November with a brand new portfolio for supporting and conducting as well as advocating for psychological research. So, the key thing that I've been asked to speak about today is the REF, the Research Excellence Framework. So, what is the REF? The REF is a national exercise to assess the quality of research which is undertaken in UK universities. It matters to individual researchers, to departments and the universities because it determines their research funding allocations. So poor performance can have devastating consequences. In some instances, it can result in the closure of a department, whereas high ratings can guarantee steady research funding. The results of the REF also determine institutions' ranking in the University League tables, which I'm not going to talk about any further in terms of their validity and so on. The REF has three core elements, and I'll talk about each of these in turn. Outputs refer to usually a journal article or a book, which can be single-authored or co-authored or single-edited or co-edited. These outputs are assessed for their rigour, the independence, thoroughness and meticulous of the research, their significance, how important, serious and meaningful a contribution does the work make, and their originality. Is it novel, is it independent, and is it creative? The second factor is impact, the difference that your research can make. And the third is environment, and that relates mainly to your university, its strategy, infrastructure, facilities, and so on. The second of the elements I've mentioned, impact, was introduced as a new and important element in the REF 2014. And for the REF 2020, it has an even more crucial role. So I'm going to talk about that part a little bit more and how you can maximise the impact of your research. What is impact? It's a great big long definition here. An impact on, change or benefit the economy, society, culture, public policy or services, health, the environment or quality of life beyond academia, or my more favourite definition from Mark Reed, the good that researchers can do in the world. There are loads of different kinds of impact, so I'm just going to focus on what I see as being not the most important, that would be the wrong term, but certainly the most relevant in terms of the work that you do as an early career psychologist. So firstly, academic impact. And this means how research can move psychology, its methods and its theories forward, or how it can be applied to other disciplines. So a really good example is how psychology can be used within mechanical engineering to think about how we understand human-machine interaction and how it can inform the development of a new manually operated machine. Conceptual impact is how research can change how we think about things. So back in the 1980s, when Jutta Frith and her colleague released a brand new theory to help our understanding of autism, is a really good example. And then economic and social and societal impact, which very much touches in some ways on what Fraser was just talking to us about, which is how we can use psychological evidence to make improvements to those real world problems. So whether it's about how to prevent individuals from falling into debt, or the development of a more person-centred benefits system, there is an awful lot that psychology can do there. Research can make a real difference, but you have to be able to share your findings in a meaningful and tangible way. And what's the best way to achieve that? I would say that impact is best thought of as a journey, and it's a journey throughout your research process, from its start to its finish. Being able to conduct research that actually makes a demonstrable contribution to practice or understanding outside of academia has a greater potential for impact, if I can talk. But you cannot do this alone. You have to engage with your stakeholders. Right at the outset, when you're thinking about your research idea, consider what kinds of difference you would like to make. And then think about who, both within and outside of academia, might be interested in your work and how it could benefit them. This could be service users in a local mental health service, local government or education authority, a local business or community centre, your MP, or think bigger. It could be a government department or agency, a think tank, or even the NHS. This might help you identify your evidence gaps and helps you to start thinking about who needs to be in your network. At this point, also think about your impact strategy. Plan for how you will achieve that impact and who can support and facilitate you to achieve your impact goals. That cartoon didn't look quite as cheesy when I put it up earlier. Mark Reed advocates that we take a relational approach to impact. This involves listening to and learning from those who are interested in and can use your research. This allows the development of a two-way, long-term trusting relationship that enables greater awareness and knowledge of your research and the achievement of that elusive impact. The nature of the two-way relationship is particularly important. It's not just about communicating your research findings, but it's about enriching your research process, as I say, from start to end, by sharing and exchanging the ideas, methodology and intended outcomes with others who are genuinely interested in what it is that you're going to do and the outcomes of that work. This helps shape the research that you do to provide the knowledge and answers that those stakeholders seek and to better tailor and target your research outputs. It might be that you engage with a range of different stakeholders at different points during your research, but it's that culmination of that overall engagement with your network that brings about that greater long-term strategic and sustainable impact. Develop a structured and systematic engagement strategy. Use different means and channels to engage to deliver the outcomes that you need. This might be through conferences or workshops. It could be through social media channels. It could be through roundtable meetings with politicians or one-to-one meetings. Throughout your research, though, make sure that you communicate with all of your stakeholders in a short and concise way so they're aware of the progress and have opportunities to give you that feedback so you can make adjustments, that if you've gone off mark in terms of the kinds of information they were after, you have that chance to reel it back in. But remember to write for your audience. There's no point doing something full of technical speak if actually you're trying to communicate with people in the local community, for example. And make sure that the engagement is genuinely beneficial for everybody involved. Carefully plan and execute it and ensure that the outcomes feed back into the next stages of your work. So how can the BPS help? As I've already said, it's keen to support researchers, academics and practitioners. But more importantly, we want to build a bridge between your work and those who will benefit from it. We want to act as a conduit between you and your stakeholders to facilitate your impact journey through knowledge exchange and establishing those valuable two-way, long-term trusting relationships. Our policy unit comprises of experts in public affairs and policy influence. Each advisor has a specific portfolio. At the moment, that is health, mental health, work, social justice and inequalities, and children and young people. The role of the team is to present the psychological evidence base for what works, what's needed, what can be achieved in each of these policy priority areas. Being armed with current and developing robust psychological evidence enables the BPS to share and increase awareness of the significant contributions that psychology has to make to real-life concerns, whether that's obesity, mental health, rising personal debt, or occupational stress. In my new role at the BPS, I will be engaging in, commissioning, funding and working in partnership with universities on research that can inform our policy work and fill evidence gaps, showing our influencers how our theories, methodologies and evidence can be used to best effect. Over the next 12 to 18 months, I will launch a series of grant schemes, resources and training to support early career psychologists in achieving their knowledge exchange and impact, as well as developing essential research skills, such as how to write a research grant application, what's peer review and how to engage in it, and how to be a better advocate for your own research. Today marks the beginning of that work, and it's been wonderful to be part of these excellent speeches today, and I'm delighted to have been here. Thank you.